Are you thinking about moving to Milton, Mass? I am 100% convinced that there is no one better to tell you about Milton, Mass and living there than me. Why? Because I live here with my family. I also sell real estate here in Massachusetts. And 7 years ago, I also had to make that decision to move to Milton, which came with a lot of consideration and research. Not only that, but I educate people every day about what they need to know about Milton if they're considering moving there. And if you've seen my other videos, then you know that I've lived in other towns on the South Shore. I can actually give you an unbiased opinion about what the different towns will offer you for the different things that you need for your personal home buying experience. So in this video, I'll tell you everything you need to know about living in Milton, Massachusetts, including things to do, the schools, the shopping, the retail, the commute to Boston, and a myriad of other things. Hey, I'm Katie Norton, and I'm a realtor in Massachusetts. This channel is all about letting you know about living in the South Shore and the surrounding areas south of Boston. Subscribe if you haven't. And if you're thinking about moving to the South Shore area or any of the suburbs south of Boston, give me a call because I would love to help you. So let's talk a little bit about Milton, Massachusetts. When I think about Milton, I think about a great suburban feel town with a great school system, great community, and also an easy commute into Boston. These are definitely some of the considerations that I had when my family was thinking about moving to Milton. Not only that, but you can get a lot more home for your dollar than some of the other towns that I talk about in the South Shore. That creates options for people at a lot of different price points. So you end up with this great community of people who grew up here in Milton and wanted to move back. You have your people who come from out of state and relocate because they need that quick commute to Boston. And then you have people like me that just moved from another part of the state into Milton. To get into specifics, the population of Milton is actually 28,000 people as of 2020. So this is going to be a much larger town than, for example, like Cohasset, which I talked about in my last video. If you remember, Cohasset had a population of about 8,800, 9,000 people, and Milton is going to be almost 3 times that with 28,000. And basically, both of those numbers are a little low right now because of the COVID surge. Both towns had an incredible influx of people at that time. And we'll talk a little bit about that COVID surge later, but let's talk about right now where Milton is on the map. As you can see in the screenshot, the dotted line is around the town of Milton, which is just south of Boston. That makes for a really easy commute back into the city or wherever else you want to go for that matter. But as far as going back into the city, there are a couple different options for getting into the city from Milton. The one used the most, honestly, is just driving. It's just a really easy drive in and out. There are definitely traffic headaches there. I'm not going to lie. Going in the morning and coming out in the evening is definitely a little bit more traffic. But the truth is you just set a great podcast or something and listen to it. And I really don't hear as many complaints as I used to because there's people can work remotely in their cars. So people will leave meetings, take their last phone call on the way home. That's the most likely way to commute in and out of Boston. But also we do have the train. We have the access to the Red Line. There are actually trolleys that run through Milton that bring you right over to Ashmont, which is the station that brings you into the city. There's also the commuter rail. You can pick the commuter rail up over in Reedville Hyde Park, which is just about a 5-minute drive. That's actually a really nice way to travel in and out of Boston. So it depends who you're talking to in my family. We all have different ways of getting in and out of Boston. But the reality is all of us can choose our different ways and have those be our favorite because there's such, a mix of ways to get and they're all good. I personally like to drive my car. I just like the access to be able to get out of the city whenever I want. My day is obviously a little crazy, so I'm going to be going to different towns all day long. So I like to have my car with me all the time. So I drop my son off at school and then I head into the city to my office, see what's going on, and then I do my appointments. My husband, on the other hand, he needs to be in his office at 8 a.m. And so he likes to take the commuter rail from Hyde Park. He says it's just like an easy way for him to answer emails and do a few things before he has to start his busy day. And he traditionally knows what time he's coming home during the week, different days during the week. He can gauge it that way. My kiddos, they tend to like to take the T. It's just a little more fast paced. You just jump on, jump off. You can get to anywhere in the city that you want to go. So they tend to be the T people. Besides just its distance to Boston, Milton is actually very conveniently located to other parts of the state. You can easily jump on 93, 95 and head up north to the mountains, whether you want to go to New Hampshire, Maine, or Vermont. You can jump on 24 or Route 3, both south, and head down to the Cape and Island. Also Metro West, you can head out on the Mass Pike and head out to the western part of the state. My son goes to college in Connecticut, so we have to take the Mass Pike out to get down to Hartford. And yeah, super convenient from Milton. Also, if you're looking just to take a Sunday drive or go on want a scenic route, if you jump on 3A, you can basically head all the way down the South Shore, almost right into the Cape. It's just a different way to see the South Shore. Now let's talk about the schools in Milton, Massachusetts. The way Milton is set up is we have 4 elementary schools, and those elementary schools go from K through 5. We have 1 middle school and we have 1 high school. All of these are on separate campuses. So let's talk a little bit about the elementary schools. So basically the way the elementary schools work is it's just by neighborhoods. So you're basically broken up into different neighborhoods based on your proximity to the school. So you have Glover, you have Collycott, and Cunningham. Collycott and Cunningham was just rebuilt into one large building, but they treat the schools differently. So if you go to Collycott, you go to Collycott, but you go into this building. And if you go to Cunningham, you go to Cunningham and you go into this building. And they don't really cross over except when everyone's coming and going, picking their kids up and playing on the playground. So it's a really interesting concept. Then you also have Tucker. So you have 4 fantastic elementary schools just based on whichever sort of area of Milton you live. Once you finish 5th grade, you're going to head up to the middle school. So the middle school is going to be the Pierce Middle School. Basically what happened was they took the old high school, renovated that, and made that the middle school. And then they built a brand new high school on a different plot of land. So we have both brand new schools, elementary schools, we have brand new middle schools, and we have brand new high school. Not only are the buildings stellar and just so great, and it's so wonderful that we have brand new buildings, but really it's the teachers and the community that make the Milton schools so popular. In fact, niche.com rated it an A. So I don't think you really can get much better than that for the public school systems. Just like any other town in Boston, Milton has access to plenty of private schools. So whether you're a legacy, you want your kids to go to one of the schools you went to, or you've just heard such great things about this private education that you want to send your kids to, Milton has access to so many of them. So, give me a call and we can definitely talk more about that. But specifically, Milton Academy is actually located right in the heart of Milton. This is just such a beautiful campus. I drive through it almost every day. It's just such a great way to start my mornings, just seeing all the activity on the campus. You can look up Milton Academy. It's one of the #1 rated schools, I think, in the United States. Also, we have Dexter Southfield, which is easily accessible. And then we also have a few private Jesuit schools. So for example, Boston College High School, Catholic Memorial, these are all nearby. So again, those are more likely a legacy. My kids go to Boston College High School because my husband went there and his dad went there and all the brothers. So we were a legacy family coming in. Otherwise, Milton Public Schools are fantastic. And I actually have 2 nieces that have just gone through the Milton Public School system and headed off to high school. So can't say enough good things about it. Now let's talk about things to do in Milton, Massachusetts. Well, you can't talk about Milton without talking about the Blue Hills, as it is affectionately known across the state of Massachusetts. The Blue Hills is just what it sounds like, a really large cropping of hills. Basically, Blue Hills are used for a ski resort in the winter. It's really a place where you bring your kids to learn how to ski. As soon as they know how to ski, they're going to want to head right up north. This was a great place for generations of kids to learn how to ski. I learned there, my kids learned there, so on and so forth. More generations to come. In the fall and the summer, the Blue Hills is just spectacular for hiking. You will not find a more beautiful place to hike just locally and nearby. There's an observatory on the top. You can literally get a 360 view, Metro West, South Shore, anywhere you look. It's just so beautiful. For a long time, they had the Trailside Museum. I think it's still open, but it was a place to go and learn about nature and the outdoors. And they had this special owl all the kids would come see. So this was a big field trip place to go for a lot of generations of kids. It's still there. It's still running. Check it out if you're ever nearby. So in addition to all the outdoorsy things you can do at the Blue Hills, there's plenty of other things you can do. If you're into golf, there's a couple private golf clubs. There's a couple local public golf courses. So for example, for a private one, you would have real close by, you have Wollaston. And I'm partial to Wollaston because my dad is actually the starter. If you know anything about golf, that's the person that controls all the tee times, pushes people out as they go. It's a pretty coveted job. And my dad is a very popular guy because of it. There's also the Hoosick Club, which actually Newbury is more like a country club. It's got a pool and golf and tennis functions. And, Wollaston has that same stuff too, but Wollaston tends to lean more towards the golf part of it. The Hoosick is more families that show up. If you are looking for a public golf course, there's a couple of them. The one that comes to mind is Punkapog. It's over in Canton, so it's just a quick drive. Also, the other one that comes to mind is the one near the Franklin Park Zoo. I'll have to think about that one. So give me a call if you're really interested. If golf isn't your thing and tennis is your thing, there's a couple clubs nearby. The Weymouth Club, which is probably just a short 20-minute drive. They have incredible tennis facilities and programs for kids, adults, any level, any time. So that's a great option if you're really into tennis. There's a couple outdoor tennis courts around Milton, at the different schools and things like that you can check out as well. And although Milton is actually not directly on the shore, there's plenty of things to do for people who love the water. We do have one marina because it's on the Neponset River. So if you do have a boat and you wanted to store it nearby, you can put it in the Neponset River, and that feeds out into Boston Harbor. Not a shore that you would go to beach or swim, but that's a place that you could drop your boat in. If you're looking to swim, you can head over to Wollaston Beach. South Boston has a bunch of beautiful beaches right now. A lot of community stuff going on over there. There's a lot of volleyball games, a lot of different camps go on over there, and that's just a quick short distance. Always, you can head down to the Cape and Islands if you're really looking for that real beach feel. So although Milton is not technically on the shore, we do have plenty of access points to water. We have the biggest one, Marina Bay, which is right in Quincy. It's just, a few short minutes away, and you can store your boat there. You could live there. You can play there. There's retail, there's restaurants. It's a really active marina and an active lifestyle over there. So if you did have a boat and you wanted to put it over there, that gets you right into Boston Harbor in like 20 minutes. So we do have a smaller marina, which is right off of Neponset River. And so basically, the Neponset River flows into Dorchester. And so it crosses through Milton. That's an access point. So you could drop your boat. A lot of smaller boats that might drop in here. There's also a restaurant and a place to live, but this is a much smaller marina compared to Marina Bay. All right. If boating isn't your thing, but you still want to go to the beach, there are plenty of beaches available. The closest one I would say is Wollaston Beach. That's a fabulous beach with like old school charm. It's got some clam shacks along the way and, little dive bars that you can jump into and have a cocktail. So that's a lot of fun to go to. Also, South Boston. South Boston has turned their 5 beaches along the little sugar bowl of the harbor. They've turned those beaches into really wonderful community spaces. So if you're living in Milton, there is plenty of reasons to head over to South Boston, Castle Island, and all those beaches. Super easy to get to, plenty of parking, food, facilities, people play volleyball. It's a really active lifestyle in the summertime. And then if you're a traditionalist like me, you're going to head south to the Cape and Islands, which is probably, an hour and a half drive. So super convenient from Milton. So as far as parks and an outdoor lifestyle, there is no shortage of things to do over the course of the year in all seasons if you live in Milton, Massachusetts. All right, so now let's talk about the retail in Milton. So basically Milton has 2 downtown areas. We call them East Milton Square and Lower Mills, and they're separated or connected, however you want to look at it, by Adams Street, which is a long winding road that goes from one end of Milton down to the other. So basically in East Milton Square, you're going to find 2 fabulous sit-down restaurants, places to like congregate. If you want to meet up with any of your friends or your families, you can have a family dinner, you can have a friend dinner. It doesn't matter. There's age range is all over the place. So 2 really great spots in East Milton Square. In addition to sit-down restaurants and places to hang out, there's a Starbucks and a Dunkin' Donuts actually directly across from each other, which is pretty funny when you're going to get your coffee and you see your friends going into the other side. Not going to tell you which side I am, but I'm a New England girl at heart, so I think you can guess. Also, in addition to coffee shops, are going to be sub shops. There's Asian food, there's healthy options, there's a playa bowl, and now there's a new little restaurant upstairs from the Fruit Center. And the Fruit Center is actually a marketplace. If you watched my video on Hingham, the sister store is down in Hingham. The Fruit Center has always been just a great little market to go to. Again, like easy, convenient, really fresh produce and really great meats. They actually have their own meat vendor and their shellfish vendors. That's a great place. And upstairs, there's a new restaurant called The Plate. And there are 2 retail stores, one for kids if you need to buy a gift for a kid, and one if you need to buy a gift for a hostess or maybe a cute new outfit for yourself. That's kind of everything in East Milton Square. There's a couple banks and real estate offices and other things, but nail salons. But as far as just that community feel, like this is a great spot to pop into. Switching over to the other side of Milton, you're going to go into Dorchester. Milton Boston Lower Mills. In this area, you're going to find workout facilities, you're going to find a hardware store, and you're going to find a CVS and a few other little things like that. And then there's a bunch of restaurants and takeout places as well. So these two areas are more like villages, the little downtown area, a little bit more quaint. But if you're still looking for that actual retail shopping mall experience, we have an old school shopping mall right around the corner in Braintree called the South Shore Plaza. And if you talk to any of the kids who grew up in New England in the 80s, they've definitely hung at the South Shore Plaza. That still has your traditional stores, but they've definitely updated it a little bit. There's a Target, a Nordstrom's, and a few other kind of good stores that it's an anchor mall is what I would call it. Whether you're going south or west, if you go west, you're going to hit University Place, which is the newest outdoor shopping area in Westwood, which is just 5 minutes down the road from Milton. This is going to have your big stores. You're going to have a Wegmans, a Michael's, you're going to have a Target, you're going to have a David's Bridal, you're going to have a Home Sense, a Home Decor, and a few others. So these are your big retail stores. But in addition, they've got a couple takeout places and a few sit-down restaurants. And this is actually super conveniently located to the University Station 128, which can get you to Boston or New York City, whichever you decide to do. The third shopping mall area that I would mention, I mentioned in my last video, so I won't go into too much detail about it, but it's Derby Street Shops down in Hingham. And that's going to have that in-between stores. They're not quite those box stores, but they're more unique. It's got that outdoor shopping experience. So check out my video on Hingham and you can learn a little bit more about Derby Street Shops. Another shopping mall, outdoor shopping area that mixes big box stores and smaller retail stores is going to be Legacy Place in Dedham. And again, if you're local to Boston, you know that Dedham is most well known for Route 1. And so Route 1, when you couldn't shop online, these enormous box stores, and also the Auto Mile, which is all the car dealerships, any single car dealership you can think of has a place on Route 1. Right in the middle, in the center between the box stores that used to be there, automobile giants that are there now, is called Legacy Place. And it was this new shopping mall experience that popped up 15 years ago, I think. But it's got the movie theater. It's got the LL Bean with the interactive climbing walls. It's got 7 or 8 different restaurants that are all unique and wonderful. And it's got every store that you can think about. Super conveniently located, tons of parking. They have their own parking garage. As I said, just look it up. You can find any store that you're looking for in this whole sort of Dedham Legacy Place area. Now that we've talked about all the things to do, all the retail, all the restaurants, all the schools, all the commuting options, let's talk about the real estate in Milton. According to Zillow.com, the median home price of a Milton, Massachusetts home is $1.048223. Call it $1.1 million. This is the median home price. The wonderful thing about Milton is how diverse it is in style of house and price point. And it's not always based on the location, although sometimes it is. If you are going to live near the highway in East Milton Square, you are going to probably have a little bit smaller of an acreage and a little bit smaller of a house. They're going to be a little bit closer together, but the convenience, the accessibility to Boston and everywhere else is just, it's worth it. So a lot of people will buy on that side of town so that they can just have that accessibility. I talked about Adams Street a little bit ago. Adams Street actually runs from Quincy all the way to Dorchester with a real long span in the middle of Milton. So on Adams Street is basically where John Adams was born, in Quincy. So along this street from Quincy to Dorchester that led all the way into Boston, you're going to find much larger historic homes that were, period mansions back in the time of John Adams. A lot of those homes have been beautifully restored. And so when you drive up Adams Street, you're going to look to the left or to the right and see just these magical places. A few of them have been sold off and built into other homes. It adds to the charm of Adams Street. It does not take away from it. So I feel like if you're looking on that Adams Street area, you might get a larger piece of land, you're going to get a bigger house, and you're going to pay a much higher price point for that. From there, there's a couple other different areas. One that comes to mind is the Columbines. And the Columbines are this grouping of about 7 or 8 streets with 10 or 20 houses on each street. So you can imagine it forms this enormous, beautiful neighborhood. It's convenient to all the schools for walking. It was convenient to Turner's Pond, which I didn't mention earlier, but it's a little walking route within Milton. So basically, the Columbines is a really desirable place to live. You're going to find houses a little bit closer together. It forms that real neighborhood feel. And the houses vary from colonials up to houses that were built just recently in the style of architecture that we're building right now, like a shingle style house or something like that. It varies greatly, but the beautiful thing about the Columbines is because when people move in there, they're settled. They don't want to leave. So these houses do not come on the market very often. So when they do, it's a very exciting time for all of us. So I mentioned the Milton Academy area as well, and that is just considered Academy area. Another beautiful, convenient walking neighborhood-like places, very similar to the Columbines, and that sort of in groups about 8 or 9 streets. But that also has easy access to Randolph Ave, which would take you up to 93. So that's another convenient place to the highway. You're going to keep moving almost to the other side of the highway. So now we're getting closer to 95, and you're going to go along Brush Hill Road or Brook Hill. Canton Ave is the main road that runs from Milton Academy all the way to the highway, basically on the other side. So now you're moving to the other side, and you're going to be closer to those areas that I talked about, the legacy places, the Westwood stations. You're going to be access to 95. So you shoot right up north to go skiing or shoot down south to go to the beaches. So these are going to be, again, larger properties mixed in with a bunch of neighborhoods. In my opinion, anywhere you live in Milton is going to be the best place in Milton. Just ask your neighbor, because that's what they'll tell you. One of the great things about Milton, as you can see from this screenshot, is that it has continued to appreciate in home values over the past decade. There was a specific spike right around the COVID surge when people realized that they wanted to move to the suburbs, and Milton was a great option. There are a lot of places where that surge kind of stopped around 2022. As you can see, Milton had a bit of a pause, but the appreciation did not stop, and it continues to appreciate even to this day. And I've spent this whole video explaining the reasons why people would choose to live in Milton, Mass. So if you're thinking about moving to Milton or surrounding areas, please give me a call and I'd love to help you out. I hope this video has been helpful for you, and just leave a comment if you have any thoughts or questions regarding this video. Subscribe to my channel if you haven't, and I'll see you in the next video.